The big news coming out of SmackDown tonight, Kevin Owens is out indefinitely, revealing on the show that he has been working with a bad neck for the last 4 months. And we had noted this, that between September and December of last year, I mean, he did not wrestle any matches. And then he came back for the post-Christmas set of house shows where he was working main events with Cody Rhodes in a number of markets, doing cage matches. And then he has done 4 matches this year. However, a low total, but that includes that insane Royal Rumble ladder match with Cody, which is tends to not be the best for someone with a bad neck, especially that bump he took at the end. And then did what I consider still one of the best matches this year that he had with Sami Zayn, which was the last time he wrestled, which was Elimination Chamber last month. So he came out during the segment and completely out of character with Nick Aldis, just explained. This was not like a lengthy speech a la, when we've seen similar situations like this. He just kind of got right to the point. I've been working with a bad neck. I've got to have surgery, and I don't know when I'm going to be back to perform in front of any of you. And it sucks that I won't get to wrestle Randy Orton at WrestleMania. And that was that. Orton came out. They stared at one another on the apron, and the segment just ended with Aldis informing Orton, you've got no match at WrestleMania, and he ate an RKO. So that was that. And Owens is out, and based on this, I mean, the timetable for these neck injuries, and you just take from Kevin Owens that this sounds like it's a pretty serious deal that he's dealing with. Like, he was not even like guaranteeing like I will be back. Which, I mean, anytime you're facing neck surgery, there's going to be that question. And for someone, this guy is about to turn 41. It's really significant. It's awful news for him. Awful news all around.
Yeah. I guess we had heard reports of an injury to him. I didn't know it would be to this extent. I didn't.
Yeah, we should mention that the PWN outlet had reported this morning that he had an undisclosed injury, and that was kind of going around. And and then throughout the day, you had the Observer confirming that it was an injury. No one had reported the nature of the injury, but it was known. Owens was at the building, and then we got tonight's segment. It's WrestleMania month on the Post Wrestling Cafe, and we are going to have wall-to-wall coverage of the events from Las Vegas beginning Thursday, April 17th. We're going to be doing daily shows on the Post Wrestling Cafe featuring myself, John Cena, and many more of the Post Wrestling staff. Plus, this month, it is 2 editions of Rewind Away as we cover SummerSlam 1997 and a retrospective of Jumbo Tsuruta. All that, plus coverage of New Japan's Sakura Genesis, Windy City Riot, Collision Course, and of course, Daredevil Born Again on MCU later. PostWrestlingCafe.com, $6 gets you in the door.
Yeah, so I in looking back to his activity over the past several months, it's interesting to think about because he took that stretch of time off, we would assume, due to these sort of issues, but then came back in a pretty hard way, in a pretty fierce way, having the types of matches that he would end up having.
That powerbomb he took on that ladder, when he talked about the neck injury, I instantly went back to that spot. And the stuff that him and Sammy did, like, that was a 27-minute match, and it was like, you're talking 2 PLE matches this year that you could not have like we're as far as you're going to go typically in a WWE type of like hardcore match that he had in those back-to-back events.
So by that point, he was already feeling some sort of symptoms of this neck injury that we now know requires surgery. I'm curious to know what those symptoms were, how he managed to pass clearance, and I'm sure like there's a good reason for it all. But it's just very peculiar that a guy would be wrestling that hard, and maybe he knew that there's the possibility that he'd be out for as long as he might be, that he would have those sort of matches on the way out. But very unfortunate. I mean, timing wise, there's never really a good time, but this is probably the worst time for a professional wrestler. These WrestleMania moments are, for somebody like Owens, he's had several of them, but I would assume that they're probably never enough, and you never know when he's enjoying one of the hottest periods of his entire career right now. In the midst of, I think, what felt like a pretty hot feud with Randy Orton, and kind of ironic that the guy whose character was that he broke people's necks turns out was wrestling with a neck injury this whole time.
Yeah, and you have to imagine that if this was, well, first of all, if it was any other type of injury, it makes you wonder if he would have just like gritted his teeth and gone through with Mania, given the neck. This is kind of what we are always talking about, and we just did with our SummerSlam '97 show. We got really deep into this topic, but the nature of this injury, like from a story perspective, if you were going to write Owens off, you could have done the punt, but given this, like they were not even going to do physicality here to explain. Like they completely dropped the character and basically ended the feud with Randy Orton. Like I think like they pretty much realized like he's going to be out a long time and it's not like the story's done, essentially, was that segment tonight.
I've seen it even suggested that like at Mania they could have simply done the punt and that would have been it. But clearly we're in a different time now where the moment you get that official diagnosis from the doctor, that is the end. There's no, and that move is actually risky enough as it is. There's a reason why they banned it off of TV for as long as they have. So we obviously wish, a recovery take as much time. I'm not even going to say speedy because just a recovery so that he can maintain a normal life and hopefully a future career will be the most important thing.
Yeah, so we'll get into this more in the show and the angle itself that they did and what they pivot to now with Randy Orton. Like certainly you come out of tonight's segment with the heavy tease. Like are they just gonna hot shot Nick Aldis into his first WWE match in 2 weeks' time, or was that just to give the fans a feel-good moment at the end of a pretty depressing segment? I mean, you figured they'll pivot somewhere with Randy to get him on this show.
Mm-hmm.